Well, good evening, good evening, and good evening. And I want to thank you so much for joining me on this awesome Saturday night. Saturday night, the 17th of the 5th, 2025. And I want to thank those who are joining me on YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram, the full shebang on this Saturday night. And normally, of course, as I said, this is. Initially, what it is called is Talking Sip Saturday night. Talking Sip. So we try to have a drink. Yes, try to have a drink. And it all depends on what you want to drink. I won't like to say the words drink too much on TikTok, because TikTok will always say that you are encroaching on some sort of restricted letters, restricted terms. And that's not really helpful for them. So therefore, I like to say that I have something like I really like this particular wine. I'm going to actually, it's the Merlot USA. I don't know if it's chunk factor or whatever like that, but this is really, really nice. And because it's Sunday evening, I will not have as much. I just have a slight taste. I would like to also invite you to also join me as well. A little bit stuffy earlier today. I went outside. I wanted to do some laundry, some gardening, and some sparkling water. Sparkling water, which is good. And then we say, let's talk. But it's while I might be in a jovial mood or so like that, but it is a very serious issue. One I want to talk about tonight. I want to talk about the well, first I'll skirt over the UK immigration laws, the new proposed in the white paper, which is going to be taking place in the UK as a way of dealing with immigration. Try to demonize immigration a lot. It's happening everywhere. Very important that people be aware and cognizant of it. And also want to talk about the nurse which was who was battered in Jamaica, who was beaten, and the video is a very horrific video. There need to be what should I say, warning when you see that video. If you haven't seen it, tune in. I'll show it to you. There's no sound to it. And also, it is the second year anniversary of the government of Jamaica giving themselves a salary increase of nearly 200 to 300%. 200 to 300% increase. And the question I always want to ask is, where are the people? I always keep saying that it is very important that persons are intentional. It is very important that people do not slack. People do not remain silent. People should have the resolve. People should have the tenacity. People should be persistent. And people should know what they're about. Because many years ago, before I was born and before everyone here on this live and people on this live were born, we when that Asian started, I get worried. During the advent of slavery, the transatlantic slavery movement, and when persons, what should I say? They're, yeah, should I? Yeah, when they're, what should I say? Their liberty was being restricted to a high level. Liberty was being restricted to a high level. Freedom fighters, persons like the Marcus Garvey, persons like Sam William Shaw, persons like Paul Bogle, the Nanny, and then of course you talk about after the post-colonial period in America, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King. Different persons, when they come in and they start to talk about this thing, and they start to speak with a profound voice, that's really, really powerful, I must say. But I just want to talk just briefly on there's some new laws which starts in the UK. And the new laws, which is I would say, and the UK immigration white paper breakdown in simple terms that it could mean for international students, graduates, professionals, entrepreneurs, and dependents. The graduate route to be reduced. Chairs. Graduate route to be reduced. The cut to 18 months with stronger conditions attached, such as the kinds of jobs graduates are allowed to take. You wonder if there's a Trump book being taken out here. But Nigel Farage from Reform Party is also giving the Labour Party a hard time. So therefore, because of the immigration factor, the Labour Party maybe is trying to live up to that. Skilled workers route getting tight. Most below degree level roles are expected to be removed from eligibility criteria. A new temporary shortage list will play a key role, but few sectors will qualify. Current visa holders can still switch job, sponsors, or apply for extension, but newcomers will need to meet tougher rules. Employers will need to train local workforce to justify overseas hiring. So therefore, in the UK, what is happening is that when persons are on benefits, on benefits, sometimes it is much more cost effective than going to work, because when you're going to work, you're going to lose some of these benefits, and so therefore it is more conducive. It's better to be on benefits. Now, what they're trying to do is to stem that. And they're saying for you to justify overseas hiring, you've got to ensure that you're training the persons in the UK. The residency of ILR stretch. Now, what is the ILR? ILR is the indefinite leave to remain. And a lot of people will have that. I got the indefinite leave to remain when I came to this country as a student. And after, I think about 2 years or 3 years, you could apply to get your British citizenship. It is now to 5 years, and now they want to double it to 10 years. Unfortunately, what they're saying, settlement period to go from 5 to 10 years for most applicants. Some high contribution or highly skilled individuals might still qualify, but let's wait for more clarity on that. There's much more. English language requirement is rising. Main applicants and even certain adult dependent will need to meet stricter English levels, with progress check especially required for visa extension and settlement. Global talent and innovative fund encourage. Immigration skills changing. So there's a raft of things, but what can take some comfort now, anyhow, still is that this is only a white paper, and the white paper is the first, stepping stone. A UK government white paper. It's an official policy document, and it's produced by the government that sets out detailed proposals for future legislations or major policy changes. Documents are typically published as command papers and often include draft versions of proposed law bills. So this is a proposed law bill. So by the time it goes to Parliament and the debate, it may be whittled down. White papers are more developed than green papers, which are earlier stage consultation. Documents that outline initial ideas and seek public input after considering response to a green paper. So in summary, the UK government white paper parent, the government firm policy proposal on specific issues. Explain the reasons and details behind planned legislative changes. Serve as a tool for consultation and discuss with interested or affected groups. And white papers are important step. So I'm saying that because a lot of people are posting, this is what is happening in the UK, blah, blah, blah. But it is not happening. It is a proposal. As a matter of fact, the present leader of the Conservative Party, Kemi Badenoch, did mention about a proposal to extend the ILR to British citizenship from 5 to 10 years. Labour is now jumping on that. And Labour Party also went to Albania, and they went to Albania. What they were trying to do, to get Albania to take immigrants or persons who are deported or persons who are illegal came into the country, a bit similar to what Trump actually did with El Salvador, I believe. But when they went to Albania, the Albanian president or prime minister said, no way, it's not going to happen. So we don't know what happened there. How comes the prime minister, Starmer, missed the boat and went there? Because that's really embarrassing, I must say. But the interesting thing about that is Rwanda was on the tables for when the Conservative was in power as a deterrent. So what they're going to do is send persons to Rwanda. That was sealed, signed, and it was going to start about July. Labour came in, scrap it. And now they're trying to do the same thing with different countries as well. Maybe they should have tried that. But anyway, that's you know that's but anyway, that's for the bit about the UK. I'm not going to spend too much time on that, really. We're in the UK and we know what's going on. Pleasant morning, afternoon, Michelle. Thank you guys, those on. And listen, I'm gonna bring in Mark and Ian. What's up, Virgin? Ian, you need to come on. You need to come on to the show. You know, can't come on Instagram. You're gonna come on to UK. But I'm gonna bring in Mark, and then we're gonna talk about this battering issue in Jamaica. This very terrible thing, and just bring it up. Mark, good afternoon. How are you doing, sir?
Good afternoon, and
Mark,
to your listeners.
You there?
Yes, man, I'm here.
Yes. You're the boat. I'll go on.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Listen, how are you? How are you? How are you doing? You don't have to tell me where you are. The last time a guy told me where he's at, he said he's on the internet. You know.
Comedian.
Yeah, I'm on the internet.
You know what? I'm doing okay.
Yeah.
I think I'm a little bothered by the trajectory of our people. It seems like every generation we need a realignment. A Martin Luther King comes on, the Malcolm X, a Michael Manley, and everything is recorded on what needs to be done to make our country a lot better. But it's almost like a car that needs alignment every generation. It either veers to the left or veers to the right. It seems as if our trajectory is destruction. Because I mean, everything written, it's all there of what to do. But laws are not being enforced. You know, Trump is doing things that are against the law. They're vote buying in Jamaica, which is against the law. It circumvents democracy, but it's not being enforced. So I don't know what to say. I mean, if you cannot enforce the laws on the book, then what's the point of having laws? You know,
Mark, I said this the other day. I'm not against dealing with crime. I'm not against if someone is going to shoot the police or whatever like that, they do whatever they need to do to sort of rectify the situation there, yeah? And I said this the other day, I said, at the rate of how extrajudicial killings are happening, whereby they are taking out the gunmen just like that, I said to myself, I got to use this word, alleged gunmen, alleged, because until they're proven guilty, Mark, in a court of law, it's alleged. If that continues, there's no need for the courts. There's no need for the judicial system, Mark.
Okay, but when the courts fail the public, this is what happens. The guy that stamped on the girl's head, right? And he had a gun, the nurse.
As a matter of fact, we don't have to go there yet. The guy who raped the girl, the 9-year-old girl, and killed her, and they shot. The question is, how was he released? How he got his bail? He got a bail.
Before. Well, the courts failed the people.
Yeah.
Which is why I fundamentally believe that judges
Yeah.
and prosecutors must be voted in by the people, not appointed by politicians, because they're gonna do what the politicians tell them to do.
Yes.
They must be accountable to the people.
Yes, Michelle, you're on. You're eating your what are you eating?
Oh, Michelle.
Hominy. She's eating
Muhammad
hominy.
Khan porridge. Hello.
She's eating hominy corn. We catch you. No problem. No problem. This is
Yeah,
good
man,
to
a big spoonful too. A big spoonful.
a big spoonful.
Catch you.
I don't get hungry.
Yeah,
How
the
you
How you
courts,
guys doing?
good man. The courts are failing the Jamaican people.
Yes.
And that's why you have these killings outside of the law.
Yes.
Look at what happened to the young lady, the young nurse who was stamped on. The brother had a gun. That's attempted murder, Bridget. Why do you, when you unholster your firearm, right? It's for one thing, and that's to possibly kill somebody. That should be at least attempted murder.
Yes.
No,
Yes.
no. I understand that he got up. He's out on bail. Him don't spend 24 hours in a jail. I'm out on bail. So the justice system has failed our country. And that's the reason why you have a Royal Reed walking around, 7 years after being charged with misappropriation of funds, aka stealing, whatever you want to call it.
Yes.
I mean, it should not take, don't they have all the evidence they need to bring it forward? It's an injustice against Royal Reed for carrying this shadow over his head. And at the same time, the Jamaican people who are not getting the justice that they deserve. So they failed us. And we're not going to move forward unless we address how the Constitution is implemented and how we deal with the court system, because right now, not work for us. Not working.
Yeah. I want to just I want to just play the video, and there's no sound, but just play because it's out there now. So and everybody's playing it. So I watched it again, and I'm saying bit by bit, and I said,
don't you have to say something before you play that video?
Warning.
No. I think you have to say something like this is for content and education or something like that when you're on when you're showing a video like that. So make sure.
Okay, well, this is for content and this is for education and this is for discussion.
So Michelle, a constitution, shall lie, Easy, Michelle. Give thanks.
No, just not like flag him channel, YouTube.
Okay.
It's for YouTube purposes.
Okay, give thanks. Yeah, man.
Yeah. All right. Okay. All right. Let's play this here. No sound. Now look at that. Now watch this now. No, whoa, look at that.
Body slam.
Slam dunk.
This is not his first rodeo. He's done this before.
Well, this is what I'm getting to understand.
He's too comfortable doing this.
Very comfortable.
So what is he? Is he a police or something?
No, it's a regular brother.
So who's the other person that's there and just have him beat the woman? So
he was trying to intervene to attempt to stop. But don't forget, but the guy who was beating up the girl had a gun in his hand.
Oh, he had a gun in his hand.
He had a gun. Yeah. He's brandishing his gun.
Oh,
so
shuckums.
Anybody who wants to intervene, they're doing so at their own risk. You don't know what this guy's mental state is. You don't know what you're getting yourself into. But
me never see the gun. I say, "Is like a punk? Fill it the man. I do that." And whoever videotaped too. I wonder if that was a woman or a man that was videotaping.
But there's a fine line between information gathering, which is where what has allowed his capture, and intervening with his word against yours. So it's a fine line.
Yeah.
A fine line. If we never had a video, we would not be talking about this today.
So was they together or something?
No.
No. It's a road rage.
Oh.
So
I don't have. Yeah.
he parked in front of her and pulled her out of the car.
I was listening to an interview they had with her on Nationwide. I don't have it, unfortunately. And what she was saying is that she tried to pass him, and he kept going on this left, going right, and blah blah blah. Apparently, maybe things happen when people driving sometimes, and somebody, anybody can happen like that. But he kept like going to the left, going to the right, and then she finally passed him. But at the same time, she had called 119. Is it 911 in Jamaica or 119? What is in Jamaica?
119, I think.
Yeah, she had called 119, and they were on the phone. They were on the phone with her.
Wow.
At the same time, she heard everything, and they heard everything. And that is what happened. And I think her uncle was speaking as well. And if
and
we
119 never get there in time.
Well, that's happened quickly, isn't it? So by the time she's talking 119, like somebody called 119 or 911, and then the whole thing happens so very quickly. But I think
as soon as we call, by the time we look, someone is right there.
Yeah, this is Jamaica, Michelle. Let's put it in context. Yeah. Mark, you mentioned something about the video, and I'm very careful what I say now, because there is a gentleman who's in Jamaica, and it's alleged. I'm going to use the word alleged. A parliamentarian. There's a video of him punching up a lady, and
with a chair, and a chair to him. He's a chair too.
Yeah, and both of them dropped the charge because he made allegation against her. She made allegation, and they dropped the charge and blah blah blah. But in a way, it's like this little double standard and there's a little hypocrisy I sense, whereby depending on who, because you remember that guy named Kimberly, what's his name, Mize, that young guy from KC, the X5 killer.
Oh yeah, the X5 murder. Yeah.
What happened to that? Nothing.
Like I said to you before, right? I'm into solutions. My group, Jamaica Solutions Forum, we deal with solutions. Okay. I've had that entity for a long time now. I mean, you're not going to change anything until you come up with a solution. Yeah. And the solution to the problems we have in Jamaica has a lot to do with the courts and how criminals are treated. There's no deterrent. And there's no, I spoke to a police the other day, and he said, Mark, a lot of times when I put people in jail, a politician will come on and strong arm them to releasing the person. So it's all about also politically motivated as well. I mean, there's this political connection, and it's all about scarce benefits and what they can get, man. We're still affected by that. People, relying on resources from the government, and this reciprocal arrangement between votes for influence. It's horrible, man. And nobody's taking it on head on. And even some of the people who are supposed to be aligned with you are just like the people in the JP and PNP. They're no different.
Yes.
They just come on your thing because they want have a either be a placeholder or just to frustrate you into just not doing anything.
There's a reason. Yeah. Go on. Yeah.
So it's across the spectrum. You have these people who are they're not there for change. They're just there to frustrate you, man. They're not about making a change in the country, because if you can't see a problem and see a solution, why can't a politician say the same thing?
There's a recent ruling, different? Apparently, I got.
Yeah, but are we that different?
No.
Okay. No. So there you go.
There's a reason.
Well, the thing about it is that they're not seeing it your way, Mark.
No.
For them gain. It's when they go in there, it's their gain.
It's about
all
gain.
They see is what they can gain and for them power and them things. Then it's not about nobody else, the people, and for Jamaica, nothing like that. Those people is just about profit for them, and that's it.
That's true.
The state of emergency, which has been happening for a while, apparently the Constitution Court ruled that it was unconstitutional. Yesterday, I understand, and I think the government is going to appeal it. And And there are issues now where they're talking about persons whose young men or whatever like that who has been locked up and their rights and they've been incarcerated. It was illegal. They need to start to sue and take the government to court. And my view is this all the while, and this is my view, Mark. When it comes on to crime, when it comes on to things like health, these things should not be a political thing, Mark. The PNP and the JLP and the churches and the PSOJ, they all need to sit down around a table and knock heads together and develop a substantive crime plan. So therefore, if PNP is the next government, they are not deviating fully from what was already established. Why
Yeah,
can't that
nothing
be done?
changes. Yeah, nothing changes. Yeah. Well, I spoke to Aluna Samba a few years ago
Yeah.
when I made that recommendation, and she said that there was a time in politics where they would come together and
Yes.
identify areas that would not be politicized for the collective good.
Yes.
But it somehow went to the wayside. It's not being addressed anymore. And that's what they need to do. I mean, for instance, everybody knows that the people along the gully side should be removed. These informal dwellings, there's no trash pickup, there's no water, the infrastructure is not there for these dwellings to be on the gully side. So what happens is that a lot of the trash goes in the gullies and end up in the sea. And I'm talking about millions of tons of garbage goes into the waterways and ends up in the sea. If one political party even as much as talk about removal, them not gonna get those votes. I think what they need to do is somebody drop the ball by allowing these people to live on the gully side. What they need to do is to find a way to pay for the removal into another area where they could have formalized, they could have all the amenities that they need.
Yes.
We as Jamaicans going to have to pay for that because the government, the parish council, they all drop the ball. They never enforce the law. So we have people living on the gully side now, and it would be unfair to remove them without having a place for them to stay.
Yes.
We drop the ball. So we can't say, boy, get up and, whatever. No. We have to have some empathy for people, but at the same time, we need to not politicize it and come up with a real solution. If we are a tourism mecca, then we have to protect our waterways and the environment, and we're not doing that.
Mark, there was a situation recently whereby I've been talking about the waters at Duns River Falls being infected with some dude. Let's call it dude. And the mayor of St. Ann made a point that because of some of these captured lands where people are living, where there are not good toiletries, these things are coming down when rainfall and so like that, down from the hills, down into the water. That's a point as well. Now, there's places like in Jamaica, like I grew up in Ochuris, and there's always there's captured land called Falklands or so like that in Ochuris, St. Ann there. And I remember when I was in Jamaica recently and I walking past certain places, you could see things down on the roadside, like from the gully, things, just plastic things just drop down to the roadside like that. But as you rightly say, no one would want to bell the cat, because if you dare bell the cat, you lose the vote. And now we're in an election era. Everyone not going to want to bell these cats. You get what I'm trying to say? Because of the essence of votes.
Yeah. Well, here's a bigger issue. People have not been schooled about the kind of country Jamaica is. Jamaica is limestone.
Yes.
A soak away what they call a soak away. I mean, I've been to the cockpit country, and I think you've seen some of my videos. Nothing just soaks away and disappears. It goes into the aquifers that are below the ground. Okay. The springs that people talk about, say, oh, I'm getting spring water. Spring does not necessarily mean the water is clean. It just springs from somewhere. That somewhere that is springing from can also be contaminated. So don't be impressed by when somebody says, boy, I get spring water. Listen, you don't know where the spring water come from. There's some filtration, but bacteria is not filtered through sediment.
Mark,
Sediments don't filter. It doesn't filter.
Mark, it's because the water is springing up. It's because the water is springing up.
That's that don't mean that it does not mean it.
Sorry,
it don't mean that it's good water. It just means that it's springing up. So we need to have an education. First of all, what I understand is that the future homes that they're building through parish council must have a septic system where the gray water and such can be extracted. That's what I hear about in Manville now.
Yes.
There. If you have 4 or 5 more than X amount of buildings, you must have a septic system to reclaim the water and to purify it or whatever. But the irony of that is that NEPA, who enforces the environmental laws in our country, is under the portfolio of the Prime Minister.
A lot of things under that portfolio.
Who can sign off if he wants, if he so chooses, against the wish of NEPA. So when we talk about solutions, right? That is a solution that we don't have any say over that because the Prime Minister controls that. The legislators do not put laws in place that are going to benefit the Jamaican people. They're not. So we're having a government that is not representing Jamaica. And it's only 28%. If anyone win, they have 28% of the votes. So man, I don't know what we're gonna do.
Nobody not get out like a vote, right, Mark?
Vote for what?
Right.
You see the kind of struggles I had in my little group. You see the struggles, right? Me alone can't do it. And me alone nah go do it. You know, see, because no. Because I don't have to be because me have different if hell go freezes over, I will make a way. So when I do these things because I want people so me I say and how to improve their lives. I don't have to do this. You understand? But the amount of skill sets on me have. Me can't eat a food. I know nothing.
You know what is it? What is one of the major problems though is that a lot of people are so relying, and government is becoming or is this big fat cat, whereby they are the majority employers in Jamaica. A lot of people get contract from government, and I believe that is what is happening, whereby people's hands are tied. Persons who should be able to make a difference.
Yeah, they benefit.
They only benefit.
They benefit. And therefore, no one is actually coming out and speaking out. And that is why I keep saying all the while, Jamaica need a level of leadership that when that person come in or that structure or whatever that system comes in, they should not be seeking for next term. You get what I'm trying? You're not actually going to be trying to make it for you're not seeking for next term. You just want to go in there to make a difference, because these days you've got to appease a lot of persons when you're not really doing it for the good of Jamaica. It's like in law when they talk about the children, when you about to remove a child or you're going to be taking care of a child, they always talk about the interest of the child is paramount. The interest of the child is paramount. The parents can be there, the mother and the father, but their interest is secondary to the interest of that child. So Jamaica should be like the interest of Jamaica should be like that child. The interest.
I wrote a poem a few months ago. about the role of politicians and who they serve, right?
Yes.
And I think we were discussing the raise they gave themselves. As a matter of fact, yesterday was the anniversary of the 200 to 300% raise that they gave themselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, in my world, right, when you are a servant of the people, you serve the people first, and anything left, you can get that.
That's what it's supposed to be, but that's not what it's
Anything
not.
left,
It is.
yeah, anything left, you can get that. But it flipped. Them flip the script.
Mm-hmm.
Them get served first, and whatever left, you can get. Because guess what? Nigel, aka Santa Clark, gave parish councillors the same money that MPs used to make under the legislative council when the Queen used to run Jamaica. They got a stipend because they realized that first of all, you can't waste the Queen money, and number two, it's a part-time job. All you have to do is to meet once a month to decide how funds are to be dispersed and how best to use the money that comes in.
Yes.
So you'd meet with the engineers and so on, and they will make recommendations, and then based on the will of the people, the legislative councillor or parish councillor would make suggestions on what they want to address first, based on the amount of money or resources available. So now they're making over $6 million a year. The politicians are making 17 to 30 million to 29 million. And let me say this to you. If the raise that Nigel Clark gave the parliamentarians, that money, if it was used on road infrastructure, all the parochial roads wouldn't have one pothole.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have one pothole because guess what? Their budget now to pay these people, the 240 parish councillors, and it's only 14 parishes. And the raise they gave the MPs is over $2 billion. You much pothole that can fix, brethren?
Yes.
You saw the potholes when I was going across Trelawney. You saw the potholes in the road. Them don't care, boss. They serve themselves first. It's like the man who worked for you or give himself a raise and tell you about it after, and you're the owner. Them tell you how much raise them give themselves, whether it's warranted or not, and so it go. We have no say so in what goes on. So our hands are tied, and that's not democracy. That's not the way it's supposed to be.
I keep on telling them to stop bringing up that word democracy.
I know, yeah. It's a
Stop
farce.
with that word democracy.
Yeah, it's a farce.
Rosemary, how are you?
They killed Gaddafi to give Libya democracy, right? Or that work out?
Y'all better go back to that root word and that etymology
of that work out. Yeah.
And they want to get rid of Abraham Charles for democracy as well.
Really?
Rosemary, how are you doing? Welcome.
Hi, how are you doing? Can you hear me, Stillborn?
Yes, can hear you. Don't ask me. You should ask Mark. And
we can all hear you. We can all hear you.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. I apologize. I was just miscalculating the time. I thought 10 p.m. GMT was midnight German time.
Oh, okay.
So what time German time is now?
Now it is about 18 minutes to 12.
Oh, 18 to 12. Okay.
Right.
We'll go fast then, so you can go.
Right. No problem.
But listen, I want to go back into this whole issue here regarding the nurse, because I believe it's a very big thing there in Jamaica at this present moment. A lot of people talking about it, and it's like, one would say we have been here before at different times where atrocities are against women, atrocities against persons, but then because of connections, it seemed like persons get off, and people are saying, "Hang on a second, bail that person now going to they're going to get off," you know, and that is something which is very interesting, because you keep hearing the police keep saying a lot these last days. There's a new word which has been coined in the vocabulary: confrontation. A confrontation. And once there's a confrontation with someone with a gun, they're unalive. Let's use that word for the sake of TikTok, unalive. You know? And so therefore I'm saying, hang on a second. Was there no confrontation with this guy? Or is it because of where he's from and who he is? But all the other guys, they've had confrontation. A lot of these alleged, and I got to use the word alleged because somebody said to me earlier when I did a video about and I made some comparison, I did not use the word alleged. Mm-hmm. All the persons who have been killed by the police, even though people will say yes, they're alleged, because Mark, they have not been through the court of law. That's a fact.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know something. It's the norm. There are now preemptive strikes on Palestinian civilians without due process, and they're under the control of the Israeli government. So it has been normalized on the international scene and in Jamaica because of the challenges with the courts and lack of enforcement. I think the policemen are just frustrated. They know who these gunmen are. They know who they are. They have their own intelligence, right? And if they as much see a weapon or on you, you are going to be unalived, because that's the opportunity they're going to use to get rid of a person that they don't have to revisit in a couple weeks when they commit another crime. So it's a double-edged sword. You know, you look on it, well, okay, you want to have enforcement, you want to have due process.
Yes.
I mean, what do you do? You know, what do you do? I mean, Jamaicans right now are embracing the fact that murders are down. And it's gotten to a point, and I think people will accept anything when it gets so horrible. Just like the vaccine. People accept the vaccine because a lot of people were dying. So they go against the protocols. Oh, you can't travel, you can't do this. They will take anything if you scare them enough. If you're scared enough, you'll act out of character. Right. So they're acting in this way now because the crime is so horrible. They're like, okay, well, if it means that due process is ignored, we'll go with that. We'll go with that.
Mark, may I comment, Silborn?
Yes, please. Yeah.
Yes, I think there's a lot of truth in what Mark said. However, I think it's leadership. I think it's leadership. We need the leadership in Jamaica that is going to make sure that we remember that we are a land of laws. And if our government has not successfully been able, with the different resources that we have, to bring crime under control, not only from their part, but to convince our people that we can't tolerate these levels of crime and that we all have to fight it, then we're going to turn to desperate measures, and then we're going to go about basically abusing everybody's human rights, and then we become a land of, you know, anything goes, and then that's what we are accepting. And I think that Jamaica is still a land of laws, and I mean, I would think that one would want to pride our police force in how they do their jobs. You know, the easiest way to do it is just put a bullet in him. That's the easy way out. Let's just kill him. Let's just, you know, and then we have a society that glorifies death. You know, we get upset with somebody, may I go kill him. And it goes back, I think, because it goes back, I think, to the fact that we have not been able to take the management of our anger and our emotion seriously. We've never as a nation promoted the fact that a big indication of advancement of any culture and any person is how you're able to discipline yourselves as it relates to your emotion. So all of that stuff gone out the window. So when allegedly, when Mr. George Wrong was caught on camera using the chair, beating the woman he later married, nearly to death. I see that as attempted murder, by the way. It's attempted murder. No way. I watched that video and made that conclusion. I mean, we did not even push to get an answer from the man. We were just treated to, oh, I won't answer your questions. And guess what? Jamaicans accepted that. Where was the outrage? So we kill our women. We batter them, we rape them, we maim them, we dismember them, we embarrass them, we spit in their faces, and it is accepted. It is accepted.
Sorry.
How about Donna Lee?
Yes, I mean, there are so many examples, Mark. And it's a disaster. And when civil society groups, when Mikel Jackson from I think Mikel from Jamaicans for Justice just stand up and try to say, look, you guys, it is not right. We have to do something here. What they try to do, they politicize it, the whole thing, and make it be that she's against the police. What lies they spread? I mean, come on. Where do we stop?
You know, Jamaican for Justice is another situation. That's another thing that we need to look on, because we have not been getting a lot of advocacy with Jamaican for Justice when people are being killed. Innocent people are being killed. We don't get the same level of representation, and it's my observation. I'm not part of the group. Anybody who's for laws and observing the laws, I'm with them. However, the other side to this, and this is a common sentiment among a lot of Jamaicans, that when people get murdered, innocent people get murdered by criminals, they do not see the same level of participation in advocating laws that are going to be tough to take care of these criminals. So that again is another. And another thing to
marry that man, probably she didn't file charges.
Yeah, but last but not least, right? Last but not least, when criminal acts are against the people, it's not his wife, it's against society. She should have no say so.
Yes.
In that matter.
That's why they always say
when somebody does something against you, it's against the laws of the people. It's not her. So her saying, okay, drop, no, you don't drop charges, because we didn't drop charges. We, the people, are represented by the prosecutor. So who are you to tell me to drop charges? You can't tell me that. We observed it.
Because it happened in public. Is that why?
No. Well, it was seen, and the prosecutor must do their job regardless of what the wife may say, because she could be under the Stockholm syndrome as well. She could be a battered woman accepting this dysfunction, and we're not protecting her.
Right.
So that is wrong.
That is true, Mark.
That is wrong. So you talked about leadership a while ago. Let me say this, and I'll let you whatever. When lawmakers become lawbreakers, society doesn't have a chance. Civil society does not benefit from that. And if we are the ones on this show talking about what they should be talking about, there's something fundamentally wrong with that. We shouldn't be doing their work. This is their work. They should be on Silburn show talking about changing laws, enforcing laws for the people. They're not doing that. So you mentioned leadership. We do not have leadership.
Exactly.
We don't.
How you gonna have leadership and no one takes accountability?
You know,
They don't have.
you
Nobody not
guys.
take accountability or anything like that. So you can't have leadership.
Exactly, and good governance. We can forget good governance. But Mark, you have a very strong point. However, with that video, remember at the time, the beef that they had with the video, they're saying that, you don't know who is on it. Remember that? That
Yes.
was
Come on,
one
man.
big
Come on.
stinking
Yeah,
up.
whatever.
We all knew who was on it, right? And everybody had to be talking so carefully and beating her, but the fact that this person was even removed, and then all these women in parliament, you didn't even see them standing up. These are the people we elect who were there or who are representing us. It was like hush hush. And again, because of connections or because we've just accepted these things. I mean, somebody said to me, well, they're all beating their wives. They're all doing all this. So they can't really call him out. So these standards, we have to get back to where, as a society, we still remember that we have to, no matter what, we have to still uphold these standards within. Look at what I said at the time, Mark. And Dion, Dion Jackson is her name. I was on
Jackson
radio.
Miller, yeah.
Yes, I was on radio in Jamaica, and she made me look so stupid. When I said to her, she said, well, what do I think would be a solution? I said, you know what? As someone who loves my Jamaican people, and as someone who really know what's going on in our society, I don't know it all, but I'm Jamaican. I know the emotion and I know the challenge of managing anger management. I said, what an opportunity for Mr. Wrong to now say, look, you guys, imagine the situation. If he came out and said, look, you guys, I was the person on that video. You know what? And even I lose it. I can't control my temper. Look, I nearly really hurt this woman. And I am sorry. This is somebody that I love. And yet this happened to me. You know what? I am willing. I cannot manage my anger. And think about it. If they did a national campaign at anger management where he says, I know this happens to you. I know sometimes you even hit someone and hurt them. Sometimes them dead. Let's work on it. You'd have the slogans, Jamaica, managing our anger, whatever it is. Saying no to violence. But she laughed at me. She said, she made me look naive. And I told her, for a nation or for someone even who is that so prominent to not even think that this is possible is because we've accepted certain horrible, vicious, aggressive behavior as typically being a part of our culture. You listen to it.
Yeah. Rosemary, that's a brilliant point you brought up right there, because it was like that could have been a powerful teaching moment to deal with anger management and to talk about therapeutic for men or for people with anger. And let's bring in King Charles. King Charles had the cancer.
That's only if he's sincere about it when I'm going there.
Exactly. No, I meant yes. I meant if it.
Yeah. Let me. King Charles recently spoke about his cancer, and as a result of that, a lot of men started to check their prostate and so like that. Because he was open with it, and that was that openness. And just as I'm going to juxtapose it, not saying, but if the men come out and actually acknowledge the fact, hey, I missed it, I blowed it, it would have helped a lot of men out to deal with anger, because there's this anger thing. This guy here, I keep saying gentleman, and people keep reprimanding me. Stop saying he's a gentleman. When the people actually cuss me out.
This monster. Not alleged monster. Whoever was using that chair is a monster. Whoever.
No. I'm talking about the nurse. I'm talking about the nurse one.
Yes.
That guy that beat up the nurse. I don't know what was happening in his psyche at that time. So therefore, there must have been a rage.
Yes.
Something which is a part of his psyche. And when he saw that, the way he flipped the lady, ladies and gentlemen, let me just show it again. The way he flipped
Oh,
the
I
lady.
can't look at it, Stillborn.
Yeah, okay.
Me either. I have to
Yeah.
turn. I'm gonna look
No,
away. I'm not gonna look at
No,
it.
I'm just showing it for people who can see. Look at this. This is it. My days. He flipped the lady. You can open your eyes. He flipped the lady. That was anger, Mark. And the other guys are trying to hold him, but he had a gun in his hand. That's attempted murder.
Let me ask you a question.
That's how I
Silburn.
see it. That's exactly how I see it.
Silburn, let me ask you a question, right? And I
Yeah.
thought about what, I always put myself in a position of like, what would I do? I've been in a couple situations where I intervened in women being beaten by men. I remember once when I was in New York, I was late for work,
Mm.
and I saw this guy beating up this lady. And I went over to intervene, and he attacked me, and I kind of destroy him still. She came
Okay, Mark.
she came after me and said, "What am I doing? What am I doing?" And I was like, "Are you okay with what's going on here? Whatever." And I walked away. And when I was on the platform before the train came, he started beating up again, as if upset with her that I got involved. Because he kept pointing towards where I walked. But he was now. If
It
I
made it
saw
worse
that,
for her.
if I saw that, right, and I had a gun, and he had a gun, and he started brandishing a gun, based on the law, would I be in the right to shoot him?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, it all has to do with that self-defense factor, isn't it?
Yeah, but what I'm saying to you, though, what I'm saying to you, sometimes citizens act on the
They
act
can see.
as, in other words,
Well, that's if you
I'm,
want
I'm,
to
I'm,
say you're
I'm
making a citizen
You can have
arrest.
citizen arrest, yes.
Yeah,
right,
a citizen
right.
arrest.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
but then again, you'll have to hope that there's cameras there, because if she asks you what are you doing, that mean that he would probably could say you pulled out the gun first, and she would back him because she don't defend him. I say
She's
so.
on the
You have to
Stockholm
think about
syndrome as
that.
well.
You know? Yeah.
It's a tricky one, Mark. That tricky
Yeah.
one. And that's why they talk about the cameras now, and that's why they also talk about the police wearing cameras. Even the Prime Minister said they want to work on it, but there's a difficulty in getting it. The cameras said a lot, because even this particular situation, with this camera, with the after AI and everything, they're going to want the lawyers for this particular guy now are going to want to scrutinize this actual camera.
I wonder though. I wonder if cameras are so small nowadays, right?
Yes.
And this could give somebody $1 million idea. But what happens if when you engage your gun, a camera comes on the site?
Okay.
That'd be a good invention, huh?
So once they click, the camera kicks in.
The camera kick on, and you can see exactly who is shooting and what he's shooting. Yeah,
But then again, you don't know why it transpired.
Right, the background, the
Right.
situation.
Then again, we
It's
don't know what
just
advanced that and why it
just
transpired.
additional.
You're just seeing at when the gun is pulled.
Well, it's just additional footage, I guess. I don't know.
Well,
I'm grasping at
Silburn,
straws
you're
here
telling me
because
that the police in England does not have camera on there when they don't have cameras?
They have body worn camera. The police have no cameras. Even the
My
train
body cameras. Okay.
Even the train attendants now, people are in the train stations now, they all have camera. Even the guys who are now putting tickets, because people sometimes punch up these guys.
Yes,
Yes,
aggressive,
they're quite
yes.
aggressive
All of them have
towards
cameras
these
now.
guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And really and truly, what is needed now and I think that's what Justice for Jamaicans for Justice is actually asking for, is the cameras on the police. But the point that you mentioned, Mark, about Justice for Jamaicans for Justice, I agree in a way. A lot of people only hear the Jamaicans for Justice when it comes on to with the gunmen and all those sort of the alleged gunmen being killed. What would be so great is if there is a level of default position that anytime there's a killing of an innocent person,
They
Jamaican.
can't keep up. Stillborn.
They can't keep up.
They can't keep up.
They won't
I'm
keep up.
telling you, Advocates Network was trying to keep up with all of these. Every time them slip up, we can't keep up.
Mm, mm.
Oh, by the
So
way, there's
they
a march on Monday. There's a march on Monday, by the way.
I've heard
Yeah.
about it.
And it might be a good thing to have a lot of men join
Yeah,
those nurses. If I were there,
Yes.
I would be part of that march. To
me
have
too.
to have the men show up and to support these women, because as a matter of fact,
Yeah.
I'm gonna put it on my page
I was just
to
gonna say that, Mark. I was
No,
just gonna say that you have a big following, so maybe
the-
if you encourage that, yes.
yeah. I just showed it. I'm just showing it now. That's not the wrong one. That's a police one. But the press release for the
From the nurses.
NAJ, National
Yeah.
Association of Nurses, where it is, there it is. The Nurses Association of Jamaica is advising all nurses that members of this association will be marching in collaboration with the members of the Jamaica Enrolled Nurses Association, JENA, and members of the Jamaica Midwife Association, JMA, on Monday 19th to register our distaste of the violence displayed by a member of the public towards a nurse on May the 13th, 2025. The venue will be communicated later. But I must say this though. The police, in their press release, did name the person. So the nurses could have actually named them. in their press release,
Stillborn, can I
in the police version. Yeah.
Yeah, Stillborn, can I
Yeah, go
make
ahead.
an observation? When I read that and I heard that the nurse they said the distaste, I'm like, distaste. We're condemning the condemnation. I mean, the outrage for me
Yes.
is not enough.
Yes.
I mean, it's like everybody wording things nicely, and you know, I'm saying, my God, even this man.
Yeah, everybody's playing so safe, playing with words.
It's like, I know it was attempted murder, and guess what? Think about this, all of you, and anybody listening. Even let's say the man is upset and a Mercedes crash and him spit in her face because she in the car, and then she come out and I look on her car.
Oh my God!
And then him says she's a nurse. Even the fact after him realized, because she had on her uniform, right?
Yes, she had on a uniform, yes.
Then even that, not even that. So it meant either he was drunk or something. He could not have been in his right mind.
He had on no shirt.
Couldn't fix back in Mercedes Benz.
He had on no shirt.
He had on no shirt.
But hold on. Drunk is no excuse. What drunk does is free you it frees up your mind to do what who you are.
I know, and that just comes and just, it's sarcastic. I'm just saying, nobody in their right mind. And no, not that they're gonna pledge no that or plead that he was insane. Temporary, exactly. But what I'm saying is, even after this person realized, even that, didn't soften him a bit at all. I didn't see it. I heard he was having his foot on her head. I can't even imagine it.
Yes. Listen, the consular.
So what part did that take place in?
The communication network said here, May the 15th, sleds assigned to the St. Andrew North Policing Division have charged a 65-year-old businessman, Robert Bell, otherwise called Andy Bell, of Grosvenor Terrace, St. Andrew, with assault occasioning actual bodily harm, following the assault of a nurse along Mount Friendship Road in the parish on Tuesday, May the 13th. Report from the Stony Hill Police are that about 7:15 p.m., Bell, who was a driver of a Mercedes-Benz motor vehicle ahead of a woman's Toyota Vitz motor car, abruptly halted and started swerving along the roadway. The woman allegedly attempted to drive around Bell's vehicle when he stopped, got out, shoved his head into the woman's vehicle, spat in her face, and struck the vehicle repeatedly with his hand. The woman exited her vehicle to make checks for damages. When she saw Bell with a handgun in his hands, he then flung her to the ground and physically assaulted her, swelling, bruises all over her body. Report was made to the police. One of the things that she said also is that he had a cup in his hand and the cup was smashing at her window as well. So the guy was, what should I say, mad sick, head no good.
So she ran in his back. She just like bumped in his back. Is that what happened?
I don't know what happened. You know why it is not
Because
so
I mean, I
important?
get run over by me, you know.
You know what is not so
And I
important? What
run him
happened?
over.
Like it run over. Me know some
I
Michelle
get
would
run over by
run
me,
over.
honey.
Michelle would run him over.
Yes, I would.
If it, as someone said it, think about it. If it wasn't videoed, he probably would have unalived her. But again, he didn't know he didn't know it was being videoed. But there's a guy. You can see the person who was videoing it. Rosemary. I'm not going to show you the video, but you could see like his camera was going up and like he was hiding in a way behind his dashboard. You could see that person who was videoing it got a
Probably
vehicle.
didn't want to be obvious.
Didn't want to be obvious again.
You know, that is one of the most dangerous things that can happen to you. Someone driving in front of you and deliberately
blocking you in, yeah.
Deliberately trying to make you run off the road. You know, it happened to me on I-94 in Michigan, in the area where they have the Ku Klux Klan.
Oh Lord.
And I did not even realize it, you know. It take you a while. Every time I'm trying to go around him, he speed up and then go. And after about an hour, I'm saying to myself, I'm alone on I-94 with this Dodge truck in front of me. And after I realized, my God, this man, he kept looking at me in the rear view. I'm like, he realized I'm alone. And even when I'm trying to strategize him, slow down, me can't go around him, and the only thing that saved me was I drove right up under him and literally drove past an exit and then made a U-turn back onto the exit. And then he couldn't come.
Do you know what someone said to me the best way?
Literally trying to run me off the road.
Yeah. Do you know what someone said to me the best way to handle road rage when you're driving and somebody is in a road rage format? If they're behind, if you're coming behind them or whatever like that, and you are, seeing something happening, you just stop. He said, chances are you'll never even see them again for the rest of your life.
Right. Just get out of the situation.
Get out of the situation. That's what he said. Just get out of the situation, because the other day I was driving somewhere with my daughter and this guy was behind me. There's a massive traffic jam. And this guy it was horrible because he knew that by him driving slow, other vehicles would be going in and making it longer. And he was just being deliberate. But, we weren't going anywhere. But those are the things that can really annoy you and when you're driving. So therefore, what you got to do is take a walk in the park and listen to the birds and chill.
Try to get out of the situation. After that incident, I started driving with a blown up doll. But it was a male doll in my car. So it would make it look like at night, it made it look like I had someone inside the car with me. I used to have to be on the highway a lot because I was, doing some sales work in the Midwest at the time. And, normally I don't get bothered, but that was so scary, so scary.
Mm-hmm.
And that is why people also walk with their phones and on their phone because they think that by being on their phone, really truly sometimes they're not talking to anyone. And the worst thing is if the phone rings, but
but let me give you some advice, right? And I give an example of what I intervened in a situation once when there's the guy being with a woman. You do not know a person's mental condition.
Yes.
When somebody's in a road rage situation, try your best. Listen, man. Dead man tell no tale.
Yeah.
You don't know what they're thinking. You could be the person that you could be the last straw. You don't know their mental state. Just disappear as quickly as you can. If that lady didn't come out to inspect her car, she probably wouldn't have gotten beat up.
Exactly, because I was
especially in a situation where it's a desolate area. No man, inspect it later.
I'll inspect it
Leave,
later. I'm for real.
leave,
That's why you have
or
insurance. It's okay.
or carry a gun. When him come to your car
That's
with him gun,
right.
you just Lego some shot on him.
That's
I
right.
believe that women must get their guns and
Armed,
to
armed,
protect
armed.
themselves.
Pepper spray as well.
That's right.
Equal the score, man. Level up the
You
playing
better go
field.
to gun range.
So,
Level
so,
up the
so
playing,
Mark,
yeah.
so Mark, in a indirect way, I mean, we're not security experts here now, and Rosemary and Michelle. What would your advice be then if for ladies then driving late at night? Because let's say the nurses. My sister's a nurse, and I know nurses, and nurses are a person that you just give them that space because you know the job that they're doing. Remember during COVID period, we came out and we clapped for them at that time because they were on the front line. The doctors were there, yes, but the nurses were the one really on the front line. And we have this massive respect for nurses. But what would you say and advice to women in Jamaica this time?
Avoid confrontations with people
Mm,
and arm yourself. Arm yourself.
mm,
It's best to be. It's best to be. Do not give a person the power to decide whether you live or not.
mm,
If they brandish a gun, guns kill. So if somebody comes to that gun and you have a gun, you take them out. Don't put the power in their hands to decide whether you are going to be remain free or be dead. Once you pull your gun, that's a problem. That's why there's a law against brandishing your gun. When you brandish your gun in public, there's a law against that.
Even with a license firearm.
Yes, because you can kill
Even
somebody.
you have to
So
even
you can
not
kill
carry
somebody.
it in your car
So
as well here.
so this guy, the charge should have been more than. Let me see.
He
Absolutely.
shouldn't even have that on his hip.
Absolutely.
It shouldn't even be on his hip in the car.
It should have been taken away from him.
We don't have open carry. We don't have open carry.
That's right. That's right.
Well,
Only
in
charge
Florida, in Florida
we have
now,
open carry. Yes.
yeah. In Florida,
Yes,
you
we
can't
have
carry a
open
gun,
carry
man.
here.
Can't
Here we
carry a
have
You know
gun.
what the thing send Florida? No more see that in the thing. You
The
know,
only-
Okay,
he's
well,
Mr. Big Bad Man. So you know nothing's gonna happen. So he
My
can do
motto
what he
is
want.
my motto
Maybe
is
that was it.
my motto is steer ready, so you're not forget ready.
Hey, I know that one. The assault occasion in
yeah, man. Michelle lick shot. Michelle, I got
88.
lick shot from them. Michelle not ramping nobody.
I would tell a Jamaican woman right now that our ladies, if something happens, especially at night, do not get out of your car. I mean, somebody
Yeah.
can walk up and also shoot you through the
No.
window. But if you can catch a reverse or whatever, get out of there.
Yes.
You know, go to where people are because you know, she came out looking at her car, and let's face it, I mean, it's, you know, it's either her car or her life. You have to look at it. That's how serious it is.
Right. That's
Remember
materialistic.
when
I
they were
was
road
looking
bombing
at my
you?
car.
The road
That's
looked
all
very,
I'm gonna
very
ask was,
quiet.
did she hit him? Did he hit her, or something like? I wasn't getting out the car because me I floor it and the hand I blow at the same time and me I floor it.
Let me tell you something. One time, you know, I was in a car in Jamaica, and somebody was trying to grab my chain, right? So I'm driving, you know, and they're trying to grab my chain downtown. You know what me do? Me grab the man, and me I drive with one hand, and I drag him. The car are moving out. I beg people if run in the street and beg me not to stop.
Yes.
Because I'm like, and you know, you sometimes you just have to know that quick move, you know, on your feet, because, you know, I mean, when you're in the situation, it's good to be advised and prepared. But I didn't know that the man grabbed and him hand in my car, and I'm like, your hand in my car, and I'm like holding on to him and just speeding up. And you want to see people realizing what's going on and begging the woman to stop. I mean, just drop him and drive away. Because guess what? It was either him or me.
Yes. Well, I want to tell you that in closing off this section here, 'cause I want to touch on something about the 2-year anniversary of the salary increase by the government. I'm going to really check with the nurses people to see if there's any color that they wear, and if anything, I'll definitely try to done.
We can join from wherever we are.
Join from wherever we are to support that. But you know what? it cannot be a 9-day. Well, they don't have 9-day wonders anymore.
9-day wonder,
3 day.
yeah.
I think it's 3-day
So
wonder.
is the nurse all right? Is she okay?
Sorry?
Is the nurse okay? How is
Do
she?
we know how she's doing?
Well,
Right, how's she doing?
I think she's having some sort of pain and bits and pieces because what her uncle said that she drives normally, like, of course, women sometimes they drive and they take off their shoes. So she came out of the car barefooted. I understand, and so her feet was damaged, and of course when he's pressed on her head, and he actually stepped on her head, Brett. His weight. Sorry, Rosemary.
They're gonna have to do a lot of tests.
Yeah, his weight went up on her head, the full weight, and is a big guy. You know what I'm trying to say? And the way he flipped her, wow. Sometimes you don't feel things. I remember one time I was hit by a car. I was crossing the road like I'm crossing the road like in a style, It was 63 halfway through road going across.
I can't just
imagine that. I go through the road, somebody, check. The car just bounced me. And I said, I'm okay. The guy said, are you okay? Okay. I'm okay. I said, Brethren, by the time I reached over to the medical associates and came back, my shoes was torn. By the time I was working with Claude Clark, Highgate Food Products at that time. Actually, Nigel Clark, Uncle Nigel used to always come by. I couldn't walk home. Nigel took me home. Nigel Clark drove me home.
Wow.
Because I couldn't walk.
Yes.
And I had to go to the.
What would I say? That was a flujo she get.
Huh?
She get a flujo.
So therefore, and of course, I told the guy, okay, so therefore, there's no way I could have seen that guy again because he said I was okay, I'm trying to say. But that's the thing, that's the aftermath. So therefore, now she could be in pain.
Mm-hmm.
You're born a shock.
Yes.
When you have an accident,
oh yes.
Yeah, it's how the body reacts to trauma.
Yeah.
Because
and you don't feel that.
It 2 years ago when I got hit by the car when I went on my walk, and when
you don't feel it right
the car
away.
hit me, I got up, didn't know that my ankle was all bones were sticking out.
Wow.
And fell back down, and then I realized, oh my God, my foot is all twisted up. The left foot is gone. Oof. It's just like instant shot that you just want to get out of there, and you it's shock. Mm-hmm.
Well, listen, 2 years ago there was this thing called the government awarded themselves increase of 200. I'm gonna play what's her name briefly, Dion Jackson. I'm gonna play Dion Jackson briefly, just talking about it a quick bit, and I just read something here.
With Santa Clark.
Advocates Network has called the increases unacceptable, unconscionable, and unfair. There's been, as I mentioned, wide-scale outrage. Let me just share just a few social media comments. They're wholly. Gerald says disproportionate compared to what civil servants got, very self-serving. Kigon says, I don't see the justification for MPs to get such high pay. It makes sense that cabinet members get paid similar to senior executives, but only if they satisfy similar requirements. And Fefen says the percentage increase should median the average of the lowest and the highest. It would show solidarity with the people you're taxing. We spoke 24 hours ago, and you were saying you thought if people understood the background, then they would be accepting of the increases. So 24 hours later, have you been surprised at the level of outrage and anger?
Well, Dan, some of the comments that you have just shared sort of demonstrate that some of the information that we're trying to provide has not necessarily seeped in. And I would want to just start this evening by just making sure we're on the same page as far as information is concerned. What you describe as increases for parliamentarians and ministers has happened in the context of a broad public sector restructuring, compensation restructuring, where that was evidence-based and market-led. And across the public service, one of the common things that we found was that the leadership across the public service, or the compensation in leadership areas, was extremely far.
Okay, I will stop that there, because can you hear me? Yeah, you can hear me, Mark?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
I'll stop that
yes.
there, because what he was talking about, he was just talking about it, and then he pulled out a massive what do you call it, chart, showing and setting it out there for Deion Jackson. But it is 2 years on, 2 years on that this is implemented. And one of the things which they said was to have written job description to be tabled in Parliament, enhanced code of ethics to be reviewed by Cabinet. Also, they said this amount of money, what it will do, it will enable them to attract great minds. But then right away, Nigel Clark left. What's going on there?
So hold on, right? People don't even realize that he's insulting the present crop of people that are representing the people. He's actually told them that these people don't have any sense. That's what he's admitted. But in his zeal to manipulate and to sidestep her question, he's talking a lot of gibberish and foolishness. Him don't answer the question. He's been slick about what he's trying to say.
He didn't.
Hey, I know it's your virgin, but every time I hear that brother talk, I get a headache. Because there's one thing I can't take. One thing I can't take is foolishness from people who think they know and know it not. Which is why I tell people all the time, I say, listen, man, it don't matter how educated a person is. If it's not in the best interest of the people, what's the use of all of this education? He does not manage his accounts, his own accounts, the way he manages the Jamaican people's money. He wouldn't do what he's doing to Jamaica right now. He wouldn't liquidate his own assets or borrow to pay for something that he cannot sustain. He wouldn't do that. But Jamaica gives him an out to do that, because all he has to do is borrow some more money in your name or liquidate the assets of the country. That's all they do. That's how they get by. That's how they get by. He can't do it in his own personal space.
I would like, Mark, it's so correct. I would like to bring us back to 2 years ago when this happened.
Yes.
And I remember it was so incredulous and so I'm speaking from the voice of the Advocates Network Jamaica. We were so angered by this.
Yes.
We were writing and protesting. We led the protests outside of the Ministry of Finance.
Yes.
And I remember it went for 17 days, through the rain, through the shine. And you know what? Think about this. 214% increase on the salaries for politicians. I remember campaigning with that every single day from here in Germany, getting all the signs out, trying to be active about it. And it was the hardest things to get teachers, the nurses, the policemen, get all those other public servants involved to even come and stand up one day with me. It was the hardest thing. There were some people who came from the Ministry of Finance and said that they were told not to come back, although it was during the lunchtime. We made a deal to do it during the lunch break so people could join. And it kept going and going and going. All that was promised, none of that has been delivered. Oh, there'll be a job description. How could you increase people's pay when they don't already have a job description? The absurdity of it all, and we tolerated it. they were gonna work harder and better for us because they're being paid. I mean, Jamaica is the only country where people go in politics to make more money, right?
Yeah,
They
they do.
And they were saying our lovely finance minister convinced us and our country that we could afford this. And yet we couldn't pay our debt afterwards. We can't do this, we can't do that. Children still not have food at school. I mean, but we can afford this. Think about that. And the conscience that our politicians accepted this, the conscience to even do this to our people. When teachers and others, they were not able to get the pay packages and negotiate for even manageable or even half attractive wages. And we know we're losing our teachers. We know that the police or whoever, we know that some of the correctional officers, right, with all the corruption, with all the stuff that they're selling and all that's going on there in our prisons. I mean, come on. But it seemed like the powers that be just didn't care. They didn't care. And even today, you know, the lovely finance minister talk about this raise was market-led. It was market-led to get the raise. It was market-led to get the raise of politicians. But when it comes to the others, like your police, teachers, and all the others, it wasn't market-led. I mean,
hold on there. Market-led means what?
Exactly.
Led by what happens in other countries? That's what you mean by market-led?
No, I was thinking it was meaning market-led because right now, you know, with inflation, with stuff, with cost of living, and by the rate. So then they could get a raise. But what happened to the people they're supposed to be to be working for? You know what I mean? And so that was, you know, everything, the code of ethics, not in all these empty promises that came 2 years ago, and they're not held to account. I mean, it's not about a political party, you know. It's about this happening with any party that comes in Jamaica. Where do you get? How do you come to a point where you're giving such? I mean, and 100% increase, you know. 200, you know, is more. So think about that. Where are the rules that deals with politicians' pay? Is that enshrined somewhere, or we just depend? All right, I'm here on things now. You know, and but is our taxpayers' money?
There are no rules,
and the outrage was not even. You know, it's like you have begged people to protest.
You know something? There are no rules. Jamaicans are fractured. They're beaten down. They feel they have no they feel they have no hope. And we out there now. Hey, don't forget somebody's out there with a coffin too, you know.
Yeah.
All right. No. No. Let me say this to you. Oh, that's right. I mean, to build a coffin. Yeah. As I was saying, when you think about it, right? Sometimes you feel like you're out there with a banner of freedom and liberation.
Yes.
Fine for people who there's nobody behind you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So sometimes knowledge can be a burden, you know. Knowledge can be a burden if you cannot effect change, which is one of the reasons why I have looked on a political solution. But even in the political realm, you attract people that are tight. They want titles without doing the work. You have placeholders. You have others who are there to disrupt your mission, which is a part of society. You have them in JLP and PNP same way. So you know, I think what we have to do is really focus on ideology. I think when people are behind ideology, it's very hard to have them sway from ideology.
Yeah.
But if it's because of a person, or like the man there, tomorrow you cannot like the man and what? You leave. So ideology is very important. We have to back people based on the ideological aspirations, and focus on that, and don't focus on the man, because man, the frailties of man. I mean, today, you know, people change.
Yes,
but ideology is constant.
Right. We always say focus on the office and not on the person.
Yes, focus on the office. That is so very important.
I honestly feel that we need a new level of love for our own Jamaican people. And we need to take it to heart. And we need to create that new level of what we want to call it, nationalism, patriotism, whatever. That is the very foundation of how we go forward. Making sure that, even understanding us as a people. So we're not going to kill each other. We're not going to maim each other. We're going to try to uplift each other because we have to understand the journey that we want to do going forward. We need the leadership to do this. And I know PNP or JLP, it's going to be probably independent, right? Because we are dug in deep in this gut or this gutter of one side or the other side. And then if someone criticizes government or the leading government, you hear say, well, you're a comrade. Or if you speak about something, we do not understand, and we're not understanding that, look, if we're looking for good governance, it must be for what benefits the Jamaican people, no matter who in a power.
Rosemary, that's a brilliant point, and I go to Mark because Mark has recently been doing some paintings, and he present paintings to the PNP side, JLP side, and everything. And then people start to cuss him out and say, "You're JLP, you're PNP." Mark, tell me about that, Mark.
Well, something. I'm. Sometimes you have to criticize your own, and I will. The people in my organization, which I'm no longer part of, by the way, it's first you're hearing this.
Sorry, I'm keeping that picture there because that picture is really iconic at this moment, and I'm going to use that picture, Rosemary, if you don't mind. I'm putting on my page that bit about rollback, all the salary increases, because I believe it's iconic. Keep talking, Mark.
Well, to my point, people are upset. They call me a sellout.
Yes.
Because I give the man a painting, which is actually a print of an original piece, not an actual painting. It's a print on canvas that I embellished. In other words, I paint over it.
Yeah.
To show, to promote unity in our country, right? Yeah. There's a picture of Michael Manley, Eddie Seaga, and Bob Marley in that painting, right? And them call me sellout.
Who did he give it to?
To Andrew Holness.
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
Including it was a town hall meeting, and I was asked to help out by the Council General, who I respect highly, Oliver Mayer. He said, "Mark, I need help with 2 pots of soup and a painting. Some of the 2 pots of ital stew and to feed the people." And the painting was for the people. It was for is to create that mindset of unity that we want in our country. Yes. The kickback I got from doing that, you would not believe, man. Everybody's like, people who know me, So, you're a seller, we can't trust you. Mr. Listen, if you can't trust me after all me I do, for all these years, I've been so consistent. I mean, Silver can tell you, me no change. From there, Silver know me no change. Me depend on the same thing day in, day out. Nothing has changed. Yeah. So if you're part of my group and you see that, then why am I with you? You can't hang with me.
But you can't give up. But Mark, you can't give up because that's what they want you to do. It's the same thing in my case. Well, I can't say it's the same thing in my case. But someone was telling me the other day, you have to make sure you're talking, because, all when you talk about the Gaza thing, and I'm like, hey, from I was 17 years old, I've been a human rights activist and advocate. Nothing I go change that now. And I've been on that, not letting go from it. And it's everything that embodies me. And someone might come and say, but that's one of how you take. I'm like, no, it's just how it is, So I commend you, Mark. I commend you for doing that. I saw the picture. I was absolutely proud, and I commend you for doing that. And sometimes it's your voice, that says, look, I did this for our Jamaican people so that they can see and probably be reminded, because that was an historical moment, and I have put this
and can I just say,
to remind.
And can I just say, the picture which you're seeing there is when
Oh,
you got the birth in your spirit to become a human rights
yes,
activist.
yes.
With someone
Oh,
taking care of you.
wow.
Sankara. Thomas Sankara, the great Thomas Sankara. I'll never forget
Yes.
that.
That's
Never
you?
forget that. That's
That's
me.
you?
Yes.
That's
Yes,
me.
that's her, Mark.
What? You
I was
can't be enlarged.
17 years,
Send to me now.
17 years.
I said it to you, Mark. Yeah.
Send to me. What? Yo, enough respect for that, man.
Yeah, man.
That's
And you
nice.
know, Thomas Sankara was in the crowd. You know, I was representing Jamaica at a fourth World Congress of young farmers from all over the world. It was a UN event,
I
and
thought it was a beauty
that time it
contest.
was Percy Broderick. Percy Broderick was the Minister of Agriculture, and I won an all island thing with my speech and whatever. So I actually presented when Thomas Sankara was in there in front of that conference. We were more than 600 people. I was the only at about 20 women, you know, and I was the youngest one, 17 years old, and they had to send
Wow.
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 they
Nice.
sent a chaperone with
They
me.
all look mesmerized. They all look mesmerized. Looking at the eyes of all of them.
Hey, and you know
all
that
are
is
mesmerized.
Blaze.
Yeah, you see
That
them?
is Campere. Blaze Campere is right beside him. The one that killed him.
Wow.
Oh,
His
wow.
best friend. That's
Wow.
Blaze. That's
Boy,
Blaze.
this is history, man.
Wow.
That's
Wow.
Blaze.
You know something, man. You know something. That is profound. I mean, I'm looking on this picture here. I'm looking on the hope in a man's eyes, you know,
Yes.
and his
And he
aspirations for a
told
new
me,
country.
when I thought I was gonna save Africa, I went to every demonstration, everything. I went back to Glenmuir High School at the time. I was
Oh,
there, girl.
wow.
I went back and when I was talking, the kids, the students, even my peers thought I was nuts. They're like, you know, and I got so interested in everything Pan-African. He was so ahead of his time. I know all of his books, every speech he made. I mean, I
Yes.
just got so, and you know, that's a knowledge from that, but he was way ahead of his time. And then
Yeah.
when they killed him, it was such a blow, you know. And then to
Oh,
find out that it was Blaze that led the whole thing through the you know the colonialists, because of course it wasn't him per se, but you know it was amazing. And Thomas Sankara said to me, he said, he introduced himself to me, and I was basically shaking, and I said, I'm Rose Francis, and he said, where are you from? And I said, Jamaica. You know what he said? He said, Bob Marley. He was so enthralled. He didn't want to leave. He was talking to me the whole time.
mm-hmm.
And then he was telling me, you know, I come to that region, or he's going to that region. Of course, he used to visit Fidel. And, you know, he says he has good friends in the region. And I mean, and he was telling me, you know, the Bukanabe people at the time, I mean, they were so this movement of pride for all
Right.
in
Yes.
Ouagadougou. I mean, you could feel it, but you could feel the presence of this man. He was so intellectual, so intelligent, so everything. And I was, you know, I used to watch people just stare at him.
Oh, my God. I'm
But
just fascinated listening to you talk about him.
yeah, but the mistake he made, he you know, and I'm sure Ibrahim Traoré is not going to do the same
It's
thing.
not going to do that,
The
no?
people loved him. The people loved him, and he basically removed all of his security. Thomas got so comfortable. He was riding bicycle around. He was doing everything, and that's how they could you know, all of that could happen. But it was one of the most fantastic events of my lifetime. And from then, human rights, and he told me that there's nothing more important than fighting for the rights of people. He told me that. And I was 17 years old. I mean, I was always defending and whatever and stuff before,
And
but
what year was that?
this was 1983.
1983.
Wow.
Yes. Yes, it was 83. It was right after. This was in October, and he had taken over in the August, I think. It was a few months after.
Wow.
If I remember my dates. Yes, I think it was right after, but it was amazing. It was amazing. So my little claim to fame. So I'm always close to the people in Burkina Faso. I remember when we lived in France. I know the French people. I mean, I met a French woman who said, "You've met Thomas Sankara?" I said, "Yes, somewhere." I didn't even have the picture. It was my sister who sent me the picture and said, "Rose, do you remember?" And I said, "Of course. How could I forget?" But I don't show the picture, whatever. It's just no. I shared it on with you
Well,
guys.
I want to say people are wanting to connect with you, Rosemary. As someone just said, the Faith Farm. How can we connect with you? I guess, Mr. Sidiel.
I was just about to ask you the same thing too.
Yeah, I must say though, I must say before you go any further with that, I must say this though. I know we spoke about from the girl, the nurse being battered, and we're
Yes,
talking about the salary bit, and coincidentally we have gone into Africa, and I'm glad because I was gonna get a guy from Ghana who is so much into Burkina Faso, and he was going to
yes,
give me some update as to what is happening. He apparently can't make it because it was a bit late there. And also looking at Mark image right here. I got Mark
yes,
image right here as well. Mark, your image is up there with Michael Manley and Siaga and Bob Marley in the middle, and you're shaking Andrew Holness' hand. This is so powerful and this is so important that we've got to really somehow, and as someone said a while ago, I think it's Fate saying we got to, yes, I don't understand why we can't get rid of these tribalism.
right.
Yeah, why can't we
Why
get rid
can't
of
we
these
build bridges?
tribalism?
Why can't we build bridges? Why,
Yes.
I mean, come on.
And so
That
The thing
I
about it is that it's like it's one track. You can draw from each party can draw from the other one. You don't have to just be just solid this one and solid that one. You can draw from each, you know? Meaning
you
like
know,
just like here, the Democrat can get some ideas from the
the Republican.
Republicans, and Republicans can get ideas. But it's just this one track thing that is, they don't see that you can both learn from each other what is really needed for the people.
I
Doug,
think.
yeah,
Oh, if I might I'll allow someone else to speak because I've
yeah,
been
go ahead,
speaking.
go ahead. No,
Oh,
I was just gonna say that Doug Gore, I guess this the father of Tommy Gore
Tommy.
recently, and we asked him about politics, and he said he's a PIP, party in power. You know, and I think that is so important there, whereby we can, like I said on a video the other day, I said, listen, I'm with Advocates Network, I'm with National Alliance Integrity NIA, I'm with JAMP, I'm with JLP, I'm with PNP, I'm with the churches. I said I'm with everyone which is doing good.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm with anyone which is doing good. And
Right.
and, and just like with Mark, I've been called many things. I've been called PNP and GLP because I interviewed Mark Golan. Yeah, PNP. I interviewed Andrew Holness when he was in the UK. Well, you can't suck up with them, man. You can't suck up with them because when he was in London, and every time I link up with Ed Bartlett, Delano Seabright, and all these guys, I suddenly I'll contact. So I get Marlon Morgan. I don't care. I just want to talk with them. Oh, you know PNP, you know GLP. Stop suck up
Right.
with these guys. Come on, Mark. You know what it is like. You don't
Right.
understand.
But guess what? No, guess what? No. The following week after I presented to the prime minister, right? No,
Mm.
2 weeks later, I was asked to DJ at Stacey Knight's fundraiser, and
Yes.
she's with PMP.
KD Night
I was a
daughter, yeah.
DJ at the event. I provided the sound reinforcement. I provided the mics. I played the music. I did all of that.
Yes.
I'm now a comrade. Now, if people were to understand the reason why I did it, the reason why I supported her is that she's run against Delroy Truck, and Delroy Truck was against the Integrity Commission.
Yes. He was
He
telling you
was
guys
he
that
he was trying to circumvent
yes.
the process. And when I heard about it, that's when I said, "What? Who are run against the brother?" So it was organic. It came out that she needed a DJ, and I volunteered my services to her. So I
There's a
am
sound in
for
Jamaica you
anybody.
call Renaissance. There's a sound in Jamaica you call Renaissance, you know. Renaissance. Is that you? Renaissance, Cameron? Renaissance. You remember Renaissance?
Yeah, I mean that. I saw them call
Yeah.
me, you know.
Renaissance, yeah.
I saw them call me. I saw them call me.
Yeah.
I saw them call. Actually, it's a Fox reporter. 20 years ago, I was doing they were interviewing me at a restaurant in California, and they asked me. I showed them all the things I did, you know, my hot sauce and my, you know, the graphic arts company and the
Yes.
food and all that kind of stuff. And the event I was putting on as event planner.
Mm.
And the guy said, "Man, you're a Renaissance man." And 20 years later, you know, it kind of fit in because I do a lot of different things.
I actually thought that was Mark's real name.
Mark,
I thought it was really
Mark, and
surname.
your real name.
I was like, it's Mark.
I
I thought you had a double name. Mark, I thought you had a double name. Renaissance Cameron. Like
every Jamaican
mine.
every
Yeah.
Jamaican have a name which is not on their birth certificate, which is the one being used.
Well, it's, you know, it's really, I'll tell you something. Being an artist, you know, being an artist presents a lot of opportunities for learning.
Yes.
I'm always trying to learn things, trying to find out why things happen the way that they do. And I've now become a poet. I write, I have about 300 poems. Every morning, sometimes when I find myself answering questions on Facebook in poetry.
Yes,
if I post something and I respond to it, I might get a poem. It's just I would like temper my enthusiasm to write in a poetic form, you know. But it's a way for me to empty my head because I can attribute my poetry to the injustices that I see across Jamaica and the world. Because most of my poems are about that, you know.
Yeah.
Most of them are about what I see in the world and how I can express myself in a poetic form to get people's attention to what's going on, you know.
Yes.
And one of the things that James Brown said before he died, right?
Mm.
He was starting a magazine called The Truth. I mean, I wonder why James Brown wanted a magazine called The Truth. And he had this obsession in the latter part of his life to come out with a magazine that will highlight what's going on in the world, and it's called The Truth.
Yes.
And at some point in our lives, whether we get it now or later in life, once you understand what's going on, I don't think you can be human and not try to do something about what you see around the world. From Gaza to, I mean, look at what's going on in Gaza. I mean, it's the epitome of genocide. Nobody can say this is not genocide. Ethnic cleansing.
Yeah.
Yet still, everybody's quiet because I'm afraid them get locked down and all of that. But like I tell my people, I said, Mr. Listen, these one man would sleep on a 3 sheet of zinc and 4 posts. But that and protect my integrity
Yes.
and how I feel. I sleep better at night knowing that I empty my head. I empty my head of all the things that I've seen. I can't go to bed and say, boy, I'm going to sleep on this. No, I have to empty my head. And let, as my uncle said, let the word work. So what I'm doing now is any candidate in any political party that is doing something positive, I'm going to throw my support behind them. No matter who.
And that is
no
so
matter
important.
who.
And that is so important, Mark, that people understand. I'm going to come to you, Rosemary, right away. It is so understand that people really need to understand as much as possible that they need to understand their constituents and their member of parliament who is there at the same time. But unfortunately, people will tend to vote based on colors and forget about the fact that this guy's a great guy, this guy's a good MP or so, because in Jamaica they do not have the call a backbench, whereby the 40 so MPs of the JLP or the PNP, they'll all vote according to their colors. And like in the UK, you've got the backbenchers. The backbenchers, if we know, they are the ones who actually change Boris Johnson, change Liz Truss, change Rishi Sunak, and change to Kemi Badenoch. That is about, they're not all agreeing within the circle, but in Jamaica that doesn't happen. Everybody will
They
see.
vote as a block.
Yes.
If you notice, Delano, right? Delano
Yes.
Seabright was
Yes.
gonna run for some Bermuda seat,
Yes.
and he seemed to have had popular support from the
Yes.
constituency.
Yes.
But the higher ups said no, they want Tavares. Now,
Yes.
don't they see the fallacy of delegates, of the higher ups making the decision on who represents that in that constituency? They need to have a primary. Have everybody who's in GLP come out and choose their candidate. But they're not
Yes.
about solutions,
Yes.
They're not about solutions, so it's not going to change. What they're
Yes.
going to get is people that support the party, which is why you have them voting as a block.
Yes.
They're not voting
Yes.
based on their conscience or voting based on the will of the people that they serve. They're voting based on what the political party wants.
Yes.
So it's not going to change. You're not going to get true representation under this present system. You're not going to get that.
Right. Yes, you're
That's
correct.
Rosemary. So you're saying Rosemary, yeah?
I think Mark is right, and there is a new. We have to. I think there should be a new. We don't have the leadership that can take us toward the level of integrity, that we have in our society, and in also with our politicians and those who govern. I think we need to also realize that we're not going to achieve this with a two-party system.
Nope.
I think if a good independent, it doesn't have to be a party, if you have a good independent candidate that can also be bolstered to come in, even if it's just that one independent candidate who has won a seat, and then can be able to lead, then at least we move away from the idea that is only two. Because when you live in societies where there are coalition governments, they have to learn to work together. Everybody run them campaign when it's politics time and election time, and them defend and them cutthroat and whatever. But once they win, once they're governing obviously for all people. And we don't have that by us. When Christmas worker get out, a JLP get it or a PNP, whichever one in power. And so I think that we have to move away from that. But the people don't understand the power that they have. They're afraid of whatever.
Yes. Yeah. And this is how the democracy comes back up. Can you hear what Rose just said? Only two. When you have democracy, it's more than two. It's not only two. Okay?
Exactly. So
Michelle,
you have
what democracy is.
And
Michelle,
you have to.
what do you always say, Michelle? What do you always say, Michelle? You always say what? The people with the power,
The power of the people is more powerful than the people in power.
Exactly. And I think also one of the things I think is holding us back is criticism and asking for good governance. No, if I was in power, and I'm not, but if I were, I would try to lead and understand that when there's advocacy, and when there is advocacy trying to tell me what's not working right, or what I should be doing more for the people, because if the people are not benefiting, then something wrong. So I don't go about and then play defense. I want to converse. I want to converse with these people because the ideas are coming from our communities, right? And it has to be shared. But it's just like if somebody say, well, we could do better with this and this. Oh, you're criticizing the government. Well, the government is there to be criticized, right? And everybody have these thin skins and so on. So we have to learn that we're not in power for ourselves. We're in power as a government to deliver for the people. We want a Jamaica where we can feel safe, where we can live, where we can thrive, where we can raise a picnic them, where we can retire, where we can bring the world to see that we can be so proud of, and especially at this time in the world. Our little piece of rock, jam rock, paradise. Do you know the potential we have? But it's like, yeah,
my American daughter just was down there last week. She was on a convention down there, and she said, "Mom, I'm home." I said, "You're American girl. We are talking about you home." She said, "Mom, I'm home. Send the kids down. Okay, I'm not coming back. All right, paradise land." Yeah. She come back and she's like, "No, Mom. Oh my God, And I used to bring her there as a little girl, but this is our first time going back as an adult.
As an adult.
You know, yes.
Uh,
And
You know, I
she's like,
wrote,
Mom, I'm home. I said, girl, you look a Yankee girl, come back home, yard.
you know, I wrote a poem. You remind me of a poem I wrote a few years ago about politicians being the Johns. I mean, not John, the pimp.
The pimps.
And Jamaica is the unfortunate lady,
yeah.
Yeah.
being hoarded out
Yes. Yes.
different entities,
Yes.
not because they don't value. Okay, you know what we value. They look on Jamaica as a means to exploit, as they would
Yes.
a prostitute, as a prostitute. That's what a John does to a prostitute.
And everybody.
Whereas we're on the
there
side
is.
as this jealous admirer watching. Damn, I wish I had that position where I could take care of that girl, that woman. But instead, she's with a John that is exploiting her.
That's
And I wrote a poem about
put
it,
her up for sale.
and that is how it's been. Jamaica is for sale. You talk about earlier, and you talk about the pollution in the waterway in
Don't you?
Duns River. Guess what?
Yeah.
Sister P and her friends sold out the Roaring River watershed to the Chinese.
Mm.
The Roaring River watershed is basically the aquifer that feeds all of the rivers in the Duns River area, Ocherius.
Yes.
They're building homes right beside Laughing Waters. They've given up all the property around Laughing Waters to the Chinese,
Wow.
who've actually built a step. Then build a step down at the side of the Laughing Waters to go down to the Laughing Waters property. So they're not going to understand the heritage and the history of our country to respect that the environment and how it has been. They don't. It's for them. It's just another river, but to us, it's part of our heritage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they have both governments, and I'm looking on the mining that's going on down there right now. Right, every time I go on that road, the toll road to go to Ocherius, on your right hand side, going to the cane fields. As you go further on, you're going to see an area where they have been mining a lot of different minerals. As a matter of fact, I spoke to a guy who said that he was hired by the Chinese, and when them buck up on something that them know the Jamaicans for them to know about, the Jamaicans are sent home. So if you give them 3,000-4,000 acres of land as part of a swap for building a road with high tolls, and you are you don't have a person there looking to see what they're extracting, that they ship out of the very ports that we own, that they now control in the middle of the night. Who knows how many millions of dollars in gold and other rare earth minerals that are coming to Jamaica.
Extracted.
You don't know.
Yeah.
So we have,
and then even they fix the road, it's not even good. And the people the local Jamaicans can't even afford the tolls them.
Guess what? When I drive my truck on a toll, I spend at least $14,000.
You hear that? The local,
right?
the regular Jamaican can't afford that.
To go to Ocherius and back, a 14 grand I go spend.
Go on, Mark. Yeah.
You're spending $14,000.
Before we wrap up, it's 12 o'clock. Rosemary, what time is it? What time is it there, Rosemary, in Germany? Is it 2 o'clock now?
It's 1 o'clock.
Yeah, man, I saw we're Patriots, man. The Patriots, we don't watch time.
We don't watch time.
Listen, actually, there's a lovely video going around. I believe it's an AI girl talking about time and African time, and talks about the essence of time and what it means.
Yes, but it's also Native American, you know. It's also, that's how the Indians do, you know. Yes, things get done.
Can I just say, Can I just say, Mark and Rosemary, you mentioned it about a third party independent. In the UK, you must have heard about Nigel Farage and reform, which recently came out and actually caning it really. I mean, they're poised to be, based on the trend, to be the possibility of the next government, if anything, based on the trajectory I was looking. One of the things, though, is this. They say sometimes one vote, my vote don't make a difference. Recently, there was a by-election, and that was because of a recall. It's interesting. Well, there was a recall, but this MP punched up one of his constituents, and he went to court, and he was found guilty, but it was suspended. Anyhow, they didn't go for the recall. The recall is a 10% of the constituency that can actually recall someone and go for an election. Anyway, he stepped back, and there was an election mark. There was a 15,000 majority for Labour Party in the UK for that seat. Do you know who won that seat? In the recall. Guess who won that seat?
The Farage brother.
Farage brother. They won the seat by 6 votes. By 6 votes. They have got about 10 councils now, which they have. And guess what? There's a 19-year-old boy and a 21-year-old guy going to be running a council with over 600 million. Near to half a billion, right? Wow. That's a new thing which is happening there. Mark, I put it to you this way now. What is the scope of independence in Jamaica? People, the last election, we all know there was 37% turnout. We all know it was about 400 and so thousand voted for the JLP and 300 and so thousand voted for the PNP. There was a 1.9 million people on the electoral list, and only 700,000 voted. There's a set of people in Jamaica who are frustrated, angry, and they are looking for a solution. They might just vote out Andrew and vote PNP just to get Andrew out, but they are still are voting out persons by just getting someone in. They are looking for a third party. They are looking for independence. They're looking for other voices that can come in and speak with conviction, not tied.
Okay, I think what we need to do, right, is to do first of all, I think we need to do an educational tour around the country to let the people know what their right.
To say that, Mark. Educate the people then.
Right, what their responsibility is to government, and government's responsibility to us, the people. Yeah. Once we do that tour, we need to identify anybody. I mean, independents or other people who are carrying our message, and put our support behind them. I say, hey, we as a collective, we are going to support this candidate in this area, this candidate in that area, and call today. That's the best chance we have of getting the attention of the Jamaican people and attention of government, because we need another voice. And let me say this to you, and you know I've been this rodeo before. It is very difficult when you have this party structure with people who you don't know their true motive. A lot of people come into an independent movement, their motives are not pure, you know. And I will never be a part of any movement. I could be a part of the GLP or PNP. I know people in both political parties, but I don't have any political aspirations. But I'm saying to you is that you do not know, because, okay, a person will display the same amount of passion if they want to steal from you or they want to serve. Passion is passion, just like obsession and love. A person who's obsessed with you would buy a car, buy this, do that. A person who loves you do the same thing for you. So how do you figure out which one is actually in love with me, or who is obsessed with me, or wants me to be a possession? So we have the same issues in the political realm, where people come on there, they say all the things you want them, they know you want to hear, but their attitudes and how they believe, what their belief system is out of sync with yours. And it comes out eventually after you've wasted a lot of time. So it's not easy. It's not easy being an advocate. It's not easy trying to change the way the mindset of people, because when we talk about slavery and the issues with slavery, there is an issue of repair. A lot of people today, when I look at people buying cars they can't afford, it's a mental condition. you don't feel very highly about yourself. So you believe that if you have a certain kind of car, a certain kind of house, you're somebody. It's called semadism. Semadism?
Smartism. Yes.
Semadism. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So what it tells me that people have a lot, very low self-esteem, and they are willing to steal, to be dishonest, to jeopardize their integrity, to be somebody, So I think the government and the people who aspire to be leaders need some counseling about what the responsibility of their job is.
Yes.
And
Well, listen.
Right. I think I think the whole idea of voting should not just be left or you should vote. We have to learn to vote responsibly. We
Yes.
have to learn what it is to vote. I mean, am I
Yeah.
voting in a situation? Do I realize just how important it is? Am I thinking of only my situation, how things affect me and my family, or how it affects us as a people, how it affects the larger Jamaican people? And I
Collective
Jamaica,
rising, yeah.
right, we have so many talented, wonderful people in Jamaica that love Jamaica, that are qualified, that
Yes.
could lead and that could deliver for the Jamaican people. And many
Yes.
different things are standing in their ways. I think most of them realize that they do not want to be affiliated with any political party or movement, because then they
Remarkable.
get stifled. Then
Mm.
their voices are stifled, and
Yeah.
then they cannot speak freely, because if them associate with JLP and then something, and then they don't feel like they can be critical and speak as freely, and
Yes.
then that might lead to change. And if it's the other party, is the same thing. So there's that. That's why there are those of us who, whether we're home or abroad, all our lives we have been advocates, and we would
Yes.
never. We've been asked many times, but we would never take side with one political party. Why? Because our voices would be stifled, and we
Yes.
would lose our
Definitely.
respect.
Yeah.
You understand? So I think that advocacy, we really, I think even what's going on, thinking about the future of Jamaica, all of that, we should be going into the schools. I mean, those are some of the actions I feel like we should be taking. The debate about the Constitution, we took it to schools, getting the young people involved. There's some talented young people also in Jamaica, but
And
it's just to make
yeah.
sure that they're getting,
Yeah.
the support that they need.
And that is why the civics discussion that we're having is so important.
Yes.
And for it to gain some traction
With
as much as
Danielle,
possible.
and yes.
Yeah, for it to definitely gain some traction. And I know the Michael Jackson from Justice for Jamaicans for Justice is maybe under some fire, but I've invited her to take one of the courses on the justice thing regarding civics as well, because that is so very much important. But before we go, I want to thank everybody for coming on. But a few people have been commenting, and I just want to share a few of the earlier on, and I found some people are commenting on Instagram. This person, she's also the Faith family. Our lived experience lack value. People have all the rights to be outraged, and I'm still surprised we didn't protest enough to get it changed. This is regarding the salary. The youth of Jamaica need to become more radical. You know what I mean? Without a job in Jamaica, dog, name your supper. And that's one of the reasons why people are really worried and scared about affecting their job, because it's not like in the UK or maybe in the States where you can sign on or you can get some sort of support wherever you are. But in Jamaica, that doesn't happen. You have to rely on remittance and all those sort of things, That is what they're saying. And someone said we continue to sell all our raw materials, including our people. Don't get started. It's ridiculous about the contract for the Chinese to build our infrastructure is a massive sellout as well. And facts, I just shared a video in that concept why we need to think life should be the way of living, a life in debt as success as well. And of course, Rosemary, I speak to someone who actually want to link with you, the Faith family. Lisa Evolves want to link with you as well.
You can
And
give her contact.
yeah, give her what?
You can link us.
Okay. And
Yeah.
and Tanya on TikTok is saying pure lies. Them tell the people both parties can't trust them, and that is a massive sentiment which is out there. That's a massive sentiment which is out there where people don't trust. So we are talking about an election which is pending and coming up soon, but yet people are not trusting
Rose,
the
Rose, are
Mark,
you
you all right?
on YouTube?
Yeah, I tried to answer a telephone call and it got disconnected.
Okay, yeah. Yeah. Was it Andrew calling you or Mark?
Sil, can you send me Rose link as well?
Yes.
I link
Okay.
I link you. Yeah.
Hey, but Rosalie.
Yes.
No, not Rosalie.
No, hey,
Not Rosalie. This is Rosemary. Rosalie is from.
no, I'm sorry. I'm not.
Yeah.
No respect for your activism, man. You know, I literally get goosebumps when I meet people who are so unselfish, who think about the
Thank you.
collective good. It is such, you have no idea how I feel about people like as yourself, because they're not everywhere. Very few people, there's no immediate reward for what they're doing. They're not interested in doing it.
Exactly.
And
Mark, so and giving back to Jamaica, I've always said I'm not interested in standing up in front of an organization and taking a picture and talking about what I'm doing or trying to get praise for whatever.
Do you know who I am? Do you know who I am? Do you know who I am?
No, but always committed to Jamaica. When I was in America going to school, fighting to even just pay my bills, I'm out there with every tourist board meet up, being there, being on the road with them, supporting them when I was in France, here in Germany, always doing and giving back to Jamaica and making sure that, you don't have to take sides. You just have to make sure that it's always going to be something that's benefiting the Jamaican people and stand up with that strength.
But you're also going to run into a problem with people who, because of what you're doing, the crab in the barrel syndrome kicks in as well. They instead of embracing what you're doing, they're upset that you're the one doing it, and they're not. They didn't think of the idea.
Right.
That happens a lot. That happens a lot too.
Yes, but you know what I do, Mark?
One thing. Mark, that crab in the barrel thought process,
syndrome.
We need to stop that mess, cause crab.
Here's what a World War II. Here's what a World War II pilot told me. He's from Germany, by the way. A guy named Gunther Rahl. You might know him. You can Google him.
Mm-hmm.
He used to fly for the Luftwaffe back in the World War II. He said, "Mark, I was named chairman of the Oceanside Days of Art on the board of trustees. And I was having a fight from some of the people who were older. I wouldn't say racist, but misinformed. And he said to me, I was complaining, he said, Mark, when a dog nips at your heels, it means you're in front of them. Leave them alone and keep walking. Don't allow them to disrupt you."
Right.
That's what he said to me.
Yeah, Mark, I have another
Hey, no, I forgot. Hold on.
I just wanted to leave you guys with this. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what we have achieved or not achieved. I am a firm believer that in everything that we do, no man stands alone. So I try to bring people with me. When people give me a compliment or say something, or Rose, you did this, did that, I always think of the people that are there in that scene helping. Whether it's the guy who is driving the car or helping to paint the banner or something, and pull them with you to make sure that they know how they're appreciated. And so that's why I kind of avoid a lot of the crab in the barrel. Was it the crab in the barrel or that you guys talked about?
Yes, the crab in the barrel mentality. Yes.
But we have to expect all of that and just keep on treading on as long as we're working for the good of the Jamaican people and defending human rights, good governance, a world that we all can live in, and for equal opportunities, we are right.
Yes, well, thank you for that last word.
Well, I wish you continued success in your endeavors. I know Michelle has been in the field for a while. Silburn. Enough respect to all of you guys, you know.
Enough
Yes,
respect.
yes.
I'm not surprised that you're on here today. So
Yes, Silver.
Yes,
Nice show tonight.
Yes, Silborn,
Yes,
thank you.
definitely.
Thank all of you. Thank all of you. And praying for your energy and courage to continue doing what you're
Yes.
doing for this show and for Jamaica.
For
Yeah.
Jamaica,
And for-
definitely.
That's
Okay.
right.
okay, guys, as
Good night.
fate would have it, right? As
Yes.
fate would have it, I'm gonna show you something, right?
Yeah.
Many years ago, they were gonna turn this area into housing. And we advocated against it because it did not go along with it. This area is our acres. Every home is on an acre. And they wanted to put apartments on this acreage, right? And because of our advocacy, look here.
Wow.
Wow. Yes.
At that.
This is now a public park.
Yes.
That's
Wow.
right. It just got
When it
all
happened, I was a
together.
vice president, the first ever black vice president,
Yeah.
the first ever black man on the board in a mostly white area.
Yes.
And there was a fight. What I heard and kept on with the guy who was the president, and we achieved our objectives. This is now
Yes.
a public park.
Yes.
So advocacy work, but you have to be able to pay the
Advocacy
price for it, pay the price of criticism, people demonizing you to move forward.
Right. And I bet you remain fair. Fair is a quality that not everybody can manage it.
Yes.
And you have all those successes when you can be fair in your dealings and your conversations and everything that you do. That's something too.
You know, one of the things that people were saying to me one time many years ago when I was involved like with the diaspora and involved with all these different organizations, which I'm still indirectly we always say, oh, Silburn, don't trust him, he's got an agenda. And I said,
Yes, I remember that.
And I said, please tell him I have an agenda, because if I don't have an agenda, somebody's gonna have an agenda for me. And they always said, Silburn, there are arrows coming at your back. And I
The
said,
man with a plan.
and I said, guess what? I have no problem with arrows coming at my back, because if they're coming at my back, I'm moving forward, so they're not going to reach me.
Wonderful.
If
That
it
is
coming
so
to my-
incredible what you guys are
Right.
doing. And
Yes.
Mark, that is just so impressive. Advocate works.
Definitely. Have a good night,
Have a
Rosemary.
good night,
Thank
everyone.
you guys. Have a good night, everyone. Bye
Love you
bye.
guys. Bye-bye.
Take care, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Well, ladies and
Bye.
gentlemen, thank you, Mark. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for tonight. Thank you so much for joining, and all the different persons, Faith family, all the different persons who were on Instagram as well. Amy Ramsey, Lisa Evolve, Stephen, and also on TikTok. Tanya, so we all need each other. Thank you so much for your advocacy, and thank you so much for your support as well. And it was very interesting tonight. Very interesting with the discussion that we're having, talking about from the UK with the changes in the laws and the fact that we're on a white paper, and it's very interesting about this. It's very interesting that we got. I was saying the other day to someone that we need to think about Africa as much as possible and think about how we can really improve on Africa, and while at the same time we're in the UK, in USA, and in these places. But with the advent of how things are, we've got to really look at how, with Rosemary, we'll talk about Thomas Sankara, with Abraham Chur, and what is happening in Africa. We got to really support that sort of movement, which is really powerful. And the unfortunate thing which happened with that young lady, the nurse, with that demon of a man, and I say the demon of a man, I'm not going to say I'm a gentleman. Let's hope that somewhere along the line that he gets help at the same time. Let's hope that she also gets help, and also somehow when these men somehow get caught with their pants down with beating of women or so, somehow someone one day will publicly apologize and say sorry, and somehow we can see some changes in the whole thing. 2 years anniversary since the government gave themselves or awarded themselves a 200% to 300% increase. Totally terrible. A lot of people feel it still, and that's why people are so disenchanted with politics. But it's very important that politics is there, because that's the voice. That's the voice, unfortunately. And as I said, in the UK, there's a 15,000 majority for a constituent, and they won with the new party Reform by 6. Every vote matters, and the independents can also arise as much as possible. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you and love you and all the best. And yes, he has an anger problem. Definitely is an anger problem. Definitely. Minimum wage too low. I want to say have a good night and thank you very much. And look out for the Civics next one. Not sure yet which one it is, but all the best. Good night. Remember to like and subscribe and to share the show, share the videos as much as possible, and have a good night. Bless you.